allow me to take a few minutes to do some housekeeping. A lot of people assume we're non-denominational because we don't have something on the sign, and maybe the tradition that they grew up in, they just assume that we're not non-denominational. But we're actually part of a family of churches, a partnership with other churches, the Wesleyan Church. And this is about the time of the year that everybody, for the year, there's our fiscal year starts at the beginning of May, and it runs through the following April. And this is the time of the year that we send in reports to our denomination. And this is the time of year that an established church, the board would meet and discuss and approve the next year's annual budget. Well, we are what's called a developing church. We're in development. So even though we have a leadership team that helps process through decisions that we make as a congregation, at the end of the day, I have a district board that approves the budget and things like that. But normally, this is the time of the year that most churches, all the members would gather around, be invited to an annual meeting, and we would vote on things. We would vote in new elders. We're elder-led. So that means that an elder board would lead us and make the kind of protect and what goes on spiritually as a church, and it's not just one guy making all the decisions, but a team of people. And even though we don't officially have that right now, we act in that way. I try to most of the time. When it's a big decision, we meet with our team and make those. So I want you to know we're acting as an established church, but at the same time we're still in development. So I send that budget, and this next week I'll have a conversation with one of our district superintendents to discuss that. But I say all that because as we shift toward becoming an established church, that's the process that we go through. So why am I taking the time out to say this now? Well, this is in lieu of all of us being invited out to a Sunday evening where it's a business meeting. It's all very exciting. It's important. Maybe not the most exciting thing, but it's important. But I just want to give you a little heads up of where we are and where we're going. God has provided for us every step of the way financially. Even though we haven't seen the growth as quickly as we want to, all of you are here because we're here. And I'm so grateful for this church family, and I want more people to know you. I want more people to know Jesus, but also know this community of Jesus followers, because I think you're great. Recently, I was at a district retreat, and somebody said, would you attend your church if you weren't the pastor? Not every pastor would say yes. I said, absolutely. I love this group of people, and I love Jesus in this group of people. So with that being said, I'm losing my train of thought, but God has provided for us. That's what it was. God has provided for us financially every step of the way. Most years that we moved here in 91, and most years God provided the budget. We had the money in the bank for that year's budget. Last year, with the money that we had in the bank and what we could anticipate was in-house giving, we had it covered. We had the year covered. This year, we're pretty close. We're pretty close. The budget that I set for this year, we're about $11,000 shy of it. So that means to fill that gap and to spend what I'd like to spend this year, we need about another $11,000. I say all that to say this. We are here not because of our in-house giving. We are here because of people that most of whom have never walked in the room with us. They not only tithed, gave 10% of their income, they gave sacrificially above and beyond that so that we could be here. We have had people write checks for $25,000, $10,000, $5,000. Normal people. These aren't people who, these are people who sacrificially gave to send us and to provide for us so that we can plant this church. And that's awesome. But that is not how we will go forward forever. Right? Our in-house giving did go up $10,000 from last year, from the year before that. But listen, we exist as a church because we all come together and fund the ministry together. And that means we become givers if we're not already. Have I always been a giver? No. When I first came to Jesus, I was like, oh, yeah, I'd give a few dollars here and there. They would pass the plate back then, and okay, okay, I'll give $2. And I remember the idea of tithing was just insane. I was like, no, I can't do that. And it was Christmas, right before Christmas 1990, and I wasn't killing it at work. I was totally commissioned, I was paid on commission, and I said, you know what? This next week, I'm going to give $10. And I just heard God say, $25. No, that was just my head. I said, this next week, I'm going to give $10, Lord. I promise I'm going to give $25. And this is one of those, that's just me and my guilt in my head, $25. And I'm going to pray about it this week, okay? And all week long, how about $10? $25. I just couldn't get away from $25. So, okay, God, I'll give $25. And I wasn't paying attention. And I got my check that week, and it was $250. And it was God saying, you can tithe. And this impossible thing that I couldn't do, we've done. That was 1990. We've done, and our kids have gone through college. We're able to pay for that. We haven't lived extravagantly, but we've never been without. And even when my business went, before I went into ministry, I tell this usually in percentages, but we were living six-figure income. We had a house of people that I earned six figures a year. One year to the next, I went from $120,000 to $90,000. From that year to the next, I went from $90,000, which is pretty good, right, to $45,000. Understand, we bought the house of somebody we were going down very quickly, and God put a peace in my heart. And guess what happened from there? The next year, I earned $15,000. And we weren't smart enough to have a big amount of money saved up. Matter of fact, because our house didn't sell when it was supposed to, our emergency savings kept paying for that mortgage. What I'm saying is, we are here. Our kids never went. They never went without a meal. They went to the dentist. We went to the doctor when we needed. Our needs were met. My point is that you think you can't do it. You can't. And God's faithful, and He's been faithful. And now we're in a home that we own the mortgage on. I guess the bank owns the house, but we're in a home with our name on it. We're doing okay. And I say all that to encourage you. If you've never given, take this home with you and see if God doesn't haunt you with my $25. For me, it was $25. Right? Because to go forward, that's what we need to do. We need to become self-sustaining. But the good news is we have the year covered, right? And if we fall short of that budget, we still have enough. Not to do as much as I'd like to do ministry-wise this year, but we have enough. My point is that God has kept extending the runway. He must want us here. He must want us here. He must want to do something in this community through us, or the money would have dried up, right? But it comes a time where we have to, it's kind of like, you're a teenager. You graduate high school, you're not going to get to live in mom and dad's, they're not going to fund your life forever, right? We have to become independent, and that's where we're at. We are the graduating senior, with the realization that we're going to be on our own soon, financially. Does that make sense? So we're good for the year, but where are we going to be? And it's going to be up to us. Amen? Okay. So if you ever have any questions about tithing and stuff like that, I'll probably start talking about it more. I probably should have. But you know what? Because I believe it is a blessing in your life too. Because it's a statement of faith. Like when we were losing it all, it was like, you know what? Doesn't make any sense for me. I'll tell you what though, when you earn less than $20,000 in a year, it's not as hard to tithe as when you when you earn 120, right? I've turned in tithe checks for thousands and thousands of dollars. Those are the ones that are harder to let go of. But you got to let go and believe that God is going to provide, and He does. In the Old Testament, the system in the Old Testament was that all the tribes, but I'm giving an extra sermon, aren't I? All the tribes, save one, got land. The Levites, they served at the temple. They were the priests. And they lived off the tithes that came in, and all the ministry at the temple was because of the people tithed. And God said, "Prove me. You don't think you can do it? Prove me." Meaning, do it and see what happens. And are we under the old covenant law? No, but we see a lot of similarities in the New Testament of giving and providing for those who minister. But not only that, but we're providing for space, and people would provide for each other in that space. So this is work that we do together. So if you believe in the ministry of what we're doing here, then it's us together funding it. And I'm not exempt. I tithe. Mary and I tithe. Right? It's part of what we do, and it's been part of what we've done. So I encourage you to do that. If a lot of churches, our former church, would every year there'd be an annual. Don't think you can do it? Try it for 90 days. Try it for 90 days and see what God does. So there's my little sermonette. I didn't plan on preaching about tithing, but it's part of the life of the church. Amen. Amen. All right. Do I have any announcement slides? Graduation. Oh yeah. Speaking of graduating seniors, we have two. We have a college graduate and a soon-to-be college graduate, soon-to-be high school graduate. May 18th, we're going to be here. You just show up and we embarrass you for a few minutes and you get a gift. No, we're very excited. These are important times in your life and memorable, and it's a line. It's a line in your life between this and the next phase, and we all have different phases in life, and that's just one we want to celebrate. So we're going to celebrate Casey and Riley here on May 18th, and so if you have cards or want to bring, that's the day to bring them. But with that being said, thank you all for staying later and let me give you that. And we're gonna expect to see God do some things in this year to come. I want to see more people come to Jesus. I want to see more people come back to Jesus. I want to see more people embrace a holistic community of being in life with Jesus together. And we want to see people this fall. We're going to do Alpha again. We're going to do outreach ahead of it and invite the community to come in and explore the Christian faith and bring their doubts and bring their questions and allow. And Alpha is so good for all of that. And if you were part of it, you know. If you haven't been part of it, this next year is going to be an opportunity for you to do it again. And so with that being said, God bless you all. We don't leave the church. We get to go in. Amen. Amen. Have a great week.